Welcome to English Buddhist terminology. And today, the term that we'll be exploring will be the 6 paramitas. As we look at the 6 paramitas as a theory or a concept in Buddhism, we'll once again have to return to the very question, what exactly makes Buddhism different from other religions? What is the truth taught by Buddhism that makes it so unique? And the 6 paramitas so happens to be one of the theories or the characteristics that makes Buddhism different. And before we go into that, let's first look at the difference between Buddhism and other religions. If we were to go through the other major religions other than Buddhism, we will see that most of them tend to include or consist of a supreme being. For example, God or Allah. Basically a central figure of belief whom the followers worship and follow. And secondly, these major other religions usually introduce a direct or straight line of causation leading all the way back to the origin of the universe. Therefore, they will talk about a creator and who creates this world. Therefore, there will have to be a definite beginning of this world and how it came into existence. However, Buddhism is different in the fact that it tells us that human life and the phenomena universe are subsumed within the same great totality. And the fact that all things arise from the operation of dependent origination. And what's more, other religions will include followers who pray to a supreme intelligence in order to attain good health, long life, prosperity, and a happy family life. However, Buddhism chooses to help us develop our inner wisdom and open up the vast storehouse of insight that already lies within us. And therefore it explains the deep mysteries that underlie the rising and falling of phenomena in the universe, instead of telling us a direct or definite beginning or ending of the universe. Furthermore, Buddhism teaches us ways to lead ourselves from ignorance to wisdom, and to lead ourselves from bondage to freedom. Buddhism also shows us how to redirect our attention from the insignificant affairs of the brief life of a single individual to the vast and timeless unity of all beings. Furthermore, Buddhism is based on the joyful realization that the liberation of the self depends entirely on our ability to bring benefit and joy to others. Buddhism teaches us as human beings to understand who and what we are. Most importantly, Buddhism teaches us the law of cause and effect to show us how to help us and help others at the same time. And as we talk about ways to help others, this tends to lead us to the idea of Mahayana Buddhism, a greater vehicle which believes that salvation of the self can only be attained through behavior that also saves others. Therefore, by helping ourselves and others at the same time, we are in fact practicing the Bodhisattva's ways. And what exactly do the Bodhisattvas follow? They actually follow the 6 paramitas, which is the central topic of today. And therefore, as people talk about the 6 paramitas or the 6 perfections, they will realize that it's a very specific practice or particular practice by the Bodhisattvas in Mahayana Buddhism. And now, what do we mean by a Bodhisattva? Roughly explained, a Bodhisattva is an enlightened sentient being. And if we were to break the word Bodhi and Sattva, Bodhisattva into Bodhi and Sattva, we will see that Bodhi represents perfect knowledge, while Sattva means essence or being. Therefore, Bodhisattva, enlightened being, or a being with perfect knowledge. In other words, a Bodhisattva is one whose essence contains enlightenment or perfect knowledge. And now after discussing the meaning of Bodhisattva and the kind of roles which the 6 paramitas play in Buddhism, let us now look at the term itself. And so you look at it, you will see 6 paramitas. What does paramita mean? Basically, the word paramita means to the other shore, or fulfillment of goal or completion. The paramita, to the other shore, fulfillment of wishes and completion. Therefore, together there are all 6 of these ways to help us lead ourselves as well as others across the river of delusion to the other shore of enlightenment. What do the 6 paramitas contain? Let's quickly look at them. The 6th paramita contains the following 6 words. First of all, generosity. The paramita of generosity. Second, the paramita of discipline or precepts. Thirdly, the paramita of patience or endurance. Fourthly, the paramita of diligence. Fifthly, the paramita of concentration. And last but not least, the paramita of prajna wisdom. These are the 6 very particular ways, although followed by bodhisattvas, but they're also important to us for a couple of reasons. For one thing, the 6 paramitas help us extend our minds. Helps make us bigger persons. Therefore, as we practice the 6 paramitas, we're not only helping others, we're also helping ourselves by getting to know who we are, as we've said before, understand who we are, and then learning to deal with our worries and defilements. But that's not all. After learning to deal with our worries and defilements, the 6 paramitas also carry us forward and teaches us how to help other people and care for other people. As we talk about the defilements in life, we usually think of times when we're unhappy, times when we're unsatisfied. We have all kinds of questions and queries about ourselves, about our lives. Why are we unhappy? Even though we are successful with our career, even though our family is healthy, even though I have a comfortable life, but I'm still unhappy. So what is the reason to this unhappiness? As human beings, we all have attachments. We all tend to become attached to something which we are fond of, which we like. And when we like something, we give rise to desire. You want something, then you want to get it. But if your desire is not satisfied, then you'll feel unhappy. On the other hand, even when your desires are satisfied, you are still unhappy. Why is this happening? It's because our mind has been ill. And what exactly is the cause of this illness? This illness comes from our mind, especially our thoughts of greed, and also ways with which we live our lives. In other words, the way we think and our emotions have a direct effect or influence on the way we live our lives. And this is where the 6 paramitas come in. The 6 paramitas come in to help us get to know ourselves, give ourselves strength to face these problems, and then give us the ability or the wisdom to turn the bad into the good. And so these are the very important things about the 6 paramitas. And now let us go into the 6 paramitas in detail. First of all, we are looking at the paramita of generosity. Basically, the paramita of generosity teaches us to help ourselves by opening our hearts to others. And how do we do this? This would require the use of wisdom and compassion to bring benefit to others. Or to put the paramita of generosity in more simple words, it's to share everything we have with other people. On the surface, the act of giving may seem like we're giving away something that we have. But let me assure you, the paramita of generosity is in fact the best investment that one can ever do in our lives. As Buddhism talks about the past, present, and future lives, giving is a way to help us save up for a better future. Because giving is like putting money in the bank. Only in this case, we're putting money in the bank of good karma. And when we have sufficient good karma in the bank, we'll be insured with a better future. As Buddhism tells us that we all come into this life empty-handed, and we leave this life empty-handed. All that we have is our karma. Once we understand this, we will of course see the importance of making sure that what we bring with us into our next lives will be the good karmas. And by practicing generosity, this will enable you to make sure that actually happens. And now giving is like sowing seeds. As you know that without sowing seeds, how can we get a harvest? Or without planting a tree, how can we find cool shade and find shelter underneath it? Therefore, giving is like spreading the seeds of good karma that will in the future grow into good and positive effects. And another thing which generosity does is that it helps us deal with our greed and defilements. In fact, when we give things to others, we're actually giving something to ourselves. Why? When you give something away, not only do you make that person happy, you only make yourself happy. And by making other people's life happy through the act of giving, you will also make the value of your life that much more different. Therefore, giving can in fact be very, very important. Now, there are several kinds of generosity which we can look at. And one of the most important, or what we call the paramita of generosity, will include what we call pure generosity. And what is pure generosity? It represents the act of generosity performed without pride, stinginess, or regret. In other words, when we practice generosity, we have to make sure or try our best to ensure that this act of generosity flows from a pure mind that understands and believes in cause and effect. And what's more, it has to flow from a mind that empathizes with the recipient. And furthermore, it has to flow from a mind that does not look for reward in this life, but understands that benefits will occur in the future lives. If you can achieve these 3 points, then you will in fact be practicing what we call pure generosity. And now that was what we mean by the best form of generosity that we can ever practice or do. And now there are also a few ways to which we can give to other people. So there are also different kinds of generosity. And the first type of generosity is what we call material generosity. For example, you give away money, or you give away things. I give you a book, I'm practicing material generosity. I give you money, I'm also practicing material generosity.